Sorry for the overexcitedness. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the doctor to call me back, because I've got a phone call appointment to discuss new symptoms with him, I thought I would come on and discuss a more serious thing. I'm still very happy with my blanket, so if I keep on smiling, it's because I'm actually cozy and warm, which is nice. Anyway, so the thing I wanted to discuss was when you when you see me in these videos, often I'm making an effort because like I want to come across as genuine because like I'm not like different yeah, I am normally, but it's that thing of I want to be positive. I want to encourage you in your journey, whether that is getting better from ME, coping with just beginning ME, or any kind of chronic illness, because I've got quite a bit of experience of that now. So I want to be like a little blob of sunshine. uh, so that's why I sort of keep things light-hearted. But I don't want you to think that I'm just this happy-go-lucky, everything's fine and I'm coping brilliantly person, because there are days when that's not the case. I'm still like sort of positive and things because that is just kind of how I am. Particularly being a Christian, it's that thing of in the Bible, there's this wonderful promise that God gives those who love him, and it's God will work all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose, in which case that's me, I qualify for that, hooray. And so he will work all things for my good, which is great. And, trust that, and that's wonderful. But there are times when, like just recently, pretty much every month I get a new symptom because it's endometriosis linked, or it seems to be endometriosis linked. Every time the menstrual cycle thing comes round, something else happens. So I've had things where I had like a series of nosebleeds every morning, and it turned out that there's the possibility that there's endometriosis in my nose, which is just weird. But there's also things like I've noticed that I've got more out of breath recently, and then this new symptom, which I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's quite personal, but it's basically like the kind of symptom where you're just like, seriously, I'm like a lady in her 30s. I do not want to be dealing with this right now. Thank you very much. And I was sad about it because it's sort of losing another ability. It's having to be like, oh goodness me, seriously, kind of thing. So it's just like, okay, my tip is allow yourself time to mourn, because you're allowed to mourn the loss of things, or a difficult day at the doctor's or whatever. Give yourself time to mourn. Mourning is actually a very healthy thing, like grief and stuff, as long as you do it properly. And so this new symptom that literally has happened in the last week, I had a day where I just felt weepy and sad, and thankfully our car broke down in the morning, and so Neil couldn't go to work, so he was here so that if I needed a hug I could just be like, I'm really sorry, but please can I have another hug. And it was just like, okay, you have a day, like obviously you can give yourself longer, but don't give yourself too long because that's not healthy. But basically I was just like, I'm just giving myself a day to grieve the loss of this ability. And it's like, it might come back. Who knows? Sorry for the camera wobbling. Makes me feel so sick. It's horrible. But for the time being, it hasn't come back, and it's like I've deteriorated, and I've deteriorated in a way which I never thought was going to happen. So it's just like, ugh. And so then basically I can have like my weepy time and be sad. And then at the end of the day, at the end of my grieving time, I'm like, okay, proactively, what am I going to do to sort this out? Not necessarily fix it, but enable me to cope. So say, for instance, like with the blanket situation has been a real problem because I've only been using single size blankets because that's what I had to hand, and I didn't really want to have to get new stuff. But it just wasn't cutting it. Like my ice hip has just been absolute bananas. It basically triggers like sciatica, which is incredibly painful. And I'd sort of come up with this possible solution, but it didn't work, and blah, blah. So anyway, I was discussing it with Neil, and he very kindly was just like, just get the thing that you need. So this is why I've got this massive great electric blanket, and so far it's great. So that's wonderful. So it's things like that where you're just like, okay, so how can I cope with this new symptom? So it could be that you, like, your hands go all funny or something. That's another thing that I've heard in the past. So it's like, okay, so how am I going to function with this new symptom? So then I got myself a ball that I used to hold like that when I was resting, so that my hands didn't clamp, and then I'd get like nail prints in there and stuff. Just little things where you can come up with stuff. Like, Google stuff by all means, but there's not a lot out there for people with ME or chronic illness or endometriosis, in fact. So, you know, I tick all the boxes. So you have to kind of become inventive, and by all means get in touch, because I quite enjoy coming up with ideas to help people. So if you have like a situation like I had recently, which was like, oh my goodness, I need this particular style of neck cushion, and it's not on the market anywhere, so I had to make it. I had to design it and make it. Boom. So get in touch if you have an issue that you can't think of how to solve or like manage life with. Get in touch. I could help, maybe, who knows. But yeah, so this new symptom, I had a day of mourning, and the Lord's very kind. He basically, because he's my father and I'm his child, he cares about me even when I'm mourning something which is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. We just happened to listen to a sermon, and it was all about moving the boundaries, which, you know, is very appropriate, and it was really helpful, and it kind of put